ァミリーコンピューター登場。カセットを挿入するとカラー52色の鮮やかな画像。家族揃ってファミリーコンピューター。
Hello everyone, I'm Tyler, and welcome to another episode of Player One Start. So taking a look at my Nintendo shelf, it's actually grown quite a bit since I started this channel. It's almost been a year since I've started this show, and I am in awe of how many games I've actually been able to collect. What was once just one tiny portion of this shelf has now reached 2 full shelves from the floor to the top of the shelf, and that makes me kind of proud. However, I've also come across some Famicom games. For those of you that are unaware, the Nintendo Entertainment System was known as the Famicom in Japan. That was short for Family Computer. And the first thing you may notice right away that is different about these games is that not only are they different colors, but they are also about half the size of the NES cartridges here in North America. And here's a game for the Famicom that was also released here in North America under a different name. This is Mega Man 5, even though it says Rockman here. That was its name outside of the US. Now, even though I don't own a Famicom, I picked this game up because it is possible to play these games on an American Nintendo with an adapter. Also, this game is considerably cheaper than buying Mega Man 5, so that was also another incentive for me to get this game. As far as I know, there are not too many differences between this game and the North American version, and the language barrier shouldn't be an issue because there's not a lot of reading I have to do. So my first step into getting this game to play on my North American console, I decided to do a quick Google search to figure out what would be an appropriate adapter for this game. And I found a whole bunch of posts telling me that I shouldn't buy an adapter because I most likely already own one. So let's go back to October of 1985 when Nintendo was trying to launch the Nintendo Entertainment System in the United States. A new game console was not an easy sell with retailers back in 1985 because after the fall and demise of Atari and the subsequent video game crash, many retailers were very wary of trusting any new console with shelf space in their store. To them, and to many consumer analysts at the time, a new video game console was just not a good idea. Many people assumed that the American public had lost its taste for video games and there was never going to be a comeback. In fact, an interesting side note here is that Nintendo, in order to get retailers to actually carry the system in major cities such as New York City, not only did they have to set up the display themselves, but they pretty much had to give the retailers the first few thousand consoles for free, along with a promise to buy back any consoles that didn't sell, because the expectation was that this was going to fail horribly. When sales of the Nintendo Entertainment System started taking off unexpectedly, it caught everyone off guard, and the story goes that even Nintendo was caught off guard with a large demand. This led to a shortage of cartridges from Nintendo, and to solve this issue temporarily, Nintendo came up with a way to convert existing Famicom titles that hadn't sold yet, and convert them to the North American consoles so that they could sell them in North America. So as a result, if you own some of these early games, you actually already have a Famicom to NES converter within one of the games you've already purchased. One way to tell if you own one of these games is to look to see if you have 5 screws on the back of your cartridge rather than the traditional 3. In my experience, these 5 screws will also be Phillips head rather than the Nintendo security bit that they used on later games. Now, just because you have a 5-screw game does not mean that you actually have one of these converters. So I actually went through my entire NES collection and pulled out every single game that has 5 screws. One way to tell when you have them lined up on the side is that the edges next to the label will be flat. On cartridges that only have the 3 security bits, they'll also have a tab at the top that will hold the cartridge together rather than 2 additional screws that was used in the 5-screw version. Now, a lot of posts told me that there was a specific game I should start with, but I decided to go in alphabetical order. So I'm going to go ahead and use a regular Phillips head screwdriver to undo the back and take a look and see what's inside. Well, to my disappointment, this one does not have a conversion board inside, but that doesn't mean I should give up so easily. I'm going to go ahead and try out a few more of them. Alright, so forgetting alphabetical order for the moment, I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to Hogan's Alley, because this is one that a lot of posts told me is most likely going to have it. Huh. Well, once again, I have not found a conversion board. Well, I guess it's on to the next one. Alright, near Hogan's Alley is a game called Gumshoe. Oh, and interestingly enough, this game has security bits instead of Phillips head, even though it's a 5-screw version. So, I guess I'll get the security bit out. And this one was not listed as having a high likelihood of having one in there, but it is on the list, so I thought I'd give it a try. And once again, no luck. Well, let's keep going. Alright, well, unfortunately, after going through my entire collection, I could not find a game that already had a conversion board inside of it. However, a couple of months later, I found Gyromite, which is another game that is supposed to be a surefire win. However, when I opened it up, sure enough, there was no conversion board. And oh my gosh, this thing is nasty inside. It looks like somebody just sprayed soda all... How did it get all the way inside of the cartridge, all the way up it? Well, while I have this apart, I'm going to have to clean this, and I don't know what this stuff is. It looks like soda pop. So anyway, I took the time to clean this up, and just to let you know, when I was done, I did try this out, and surprisingly it still works, even though I could clearly see that some of the traces had either been eaten through by whatever that was, or somebody had scratched off some of the coating trying to get it off. So I was beginning to think that these things are nothing but a myth, but I see so many people have them online, they do videos on them, so I'm sure they exist. I don't think they're as common as people think, because I couldn't find one in any of my games. So after all of that and a trip to Amazon, I was able to actually just buy a converter that somebody had made. And I'm going to go ahead and unbox it here. And the only documentation this thing came with was a card for people who do not own a North American NES. So I don't have to worry about this part. And here's the converter. It's designed so that you can just plug the Famicom game right onto the top and put it into your console. It's also got a little string here too, so you can pull it back out. Alright, let's go ahead and try this out with Rockman. So Mega Man 5 was released on December 4th of 1992, which is one of the reasons why it's so expensive in North America. The NES had fallen out of popularity due to the Super Nintendo coming out, so not very many people bought it, and makes it a rare game. If you don't read Japanese, the story basically takes place right after the events of Mega Man 4. Mega Man's brother and ally, Proto Man, uncharacteristically leads a group of menacing robots and attacks on the world and kidnaps his own creator, Dr. Light, leaving the title character little choice but to take up arms in a fight against the once trusted sibling. As you can see, Mega Man 5 carries over the same graphical style and action platforming gameplay as the 4 preceding chapters in the series. This game was met with a positive critical reception for its graphics and music, while receiving criticism for its lack of innovation in its plot or gameplay. Now, if you don't want to play this on the original hardware, you don't have to. It is also available on the PlayStation Network, on mobile phones, and in North America as part of the Mega Man Anniversary Collection on multiple consoles. The console I first played this game on was on the GameCube. Let's see how far I can get in this level. Well, I thought if I made it to the next screen I might survive a little bit longer, but that wasn't the case. Let's move on to a Famicom exclusive game called Devil World. This game was not ported over to North America because it contains religious symbols, and Nintendo was very involved in censoring this when porting games to the Western regions. So as you can see, the gameplay is very similar to Pac-Man, as it is considered a maze video game. Players control a green dragon who decides to attack the Devil's World, along with a red Player 2 version of him if you choose to play this 2-player. He navigates through a series of mazes and touches crosses to power up and summon the ability to breathe fire, as well as eat dots in the maze. Without the cross, he is completely helpless and cannot complete the maze. This game was designed by legendary game designer Shigeru Miyamoto, as well as Takashi Tezuka. This game was Tezuka's first job when he joined Nintendo full-time. After a little while, I was able to figure out this game without too much difficulty, and I had a lot of fun playing it. Alright, next up I'm going to attempt Binary Land. This is a puzzle game developed by Hudson Soft in 1983, originally for the MSX, FM7, NEC PC, and eventually in 1985 for the Famicom. In this game, players have to unite two penguins, Gurin, the male, and Malone, the female, who are in love. Players control both penguins simultaneously, with a timer adding to the difficulty. The penguins move in mirror images of each other, which adds to the strategy. Obstacles that stand in their way are spiders, birds, and other creatures which the player must attack with the penguin's spray. Cobwebs also occupy some of the cells in the playing field, possibly slowing the player down long enough for either a spider to kill them, or until they're freed by the other player. Overall, I found this game also enjoyable and worth picking up if you like puzzle games. So here are a couple other Famicom games that I also have, but I didn't have time to feature on here, or they're not really exclusive or unique enough for me to feature right now. I also got Super Mario Bros. 3 Mix, which is an excellent ROM hack. However, it does not work with this converter, so I'll have to figure out something different to show this game. So overall, I'm excited to finally have a converter. I think the converter works well. The only thing I thought was a bad experience about this was that I took the time to actually go through all of my cartridges because it ended up being a waste of time. Ultimately, the end goal for me is to actually own a Famicom so I can also get the disc system and run games on that. However, this will hold me over as a cost-effective solution to play Famicom games that weren't released in the US in the meantime. Well, that's about going to wrap it up for this video. Remember, if you like what you see, please go ahead and click on the subscribe button. And if you want to see some of the videos I've already done, go ahead and click on one of the suggestions that are currently showing up on your screen. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned because I have more content coming. I'll see you guys next time.